All right. Welcome. My name's Kip Schauer. I'm from Denver, Colorado, over in the United States. How many people have been to Colorado before? One? All right. Two? All right. Three. Well, great. You're all welcome to come to Colorado sometime and come enjoy the skiing or the nice weather we have. I've really enjoyed my trip to Milan. This was the first time I've ever been here. I've been to Rome and Florence and Venice before, so thanks so much for having me over here. So we'll spend the next 35 minutes, and I'm going to save a little time for questions at the end, talking about Google's media story, so media and entertainment. I was hired 3 months ago by Google. I spent the last 10 years at Aspera. How many people use Aspera if you're in the media and entertainment world, moving large files? Okay. Most people would. So then IBM acquired Aspera. So for the last 3 years, I was over at IBM also. So today we're going to talk about media, Google's strategy in the media, and then we're going to dig into the online platform called Bato, as well as the machine learning. You might have already gone to a few sessions on machine learning, and I'll talk to you about how we're going to be applying it in the media and entertainment space. So a little background, everybody knows that media consumption is changing. Obviously, on my phone here, I can launch an application, watch video content right here. How many people were watching video right before they started this? Just about everybody, right? I read a statistic that every single day, 57% of people watch video on their phone. And my question to that was, what are the other 43% of the people doing with their phone if you're not watching video, right? I mean, everybody watches video today. And some of the videos even just start to play right away. So if you're watching YouTube or Facebook or ESPN or any of your sporting channels, you know, the videos will just start to play. So the idea is, how do you make sure you get the right video content to each of us? And you have to be able to get it anytime to any different device. I've got 2 teenage boys, and to get them to sit down and watch a TV show, I don't remember the last time they did. If it was, I'm sure it was just a movie that was recorded. One of my sons has built this big computer with 2 different monitors, and I don't know if he has a split brain or something, but one, he keeps YouTube and video channels up so he can be watching TV while he's usually playing a game or, you know, doing his homework or something like that. So the way we're consuming content has changed dramatically. And then the other thing for you take somebody like my son is, how does he get to the content that he wants to watch? So he's into paintball. I don't know if they have paintball here, but you run around and shoot each other with paintball guns. And there's actually a league in North America. So there's a professional group of paintballers in North America, and they have a championship game, and you can actually pay a company that live streams it like $5 a month to be able to watch those games. I mean, you start to think about that, and what it opens up for the possibility of everybody is being able to watch video, live streaming video for whatever hobby or interest or, you know, special concept that we have out there, and be able to consume it, you know, on my phone while I'm at a conference, be able to watch it at home, potentially on a TV, or, you know, on your computer, have 2 different, you know, monitors going, and you can consume the content. So everybody that's in the media and entertainment world, you know that the trick is getting it to every device now. So then the next step is, how do I use data to drive what content's being pushed, and how do I personalize it so that we each are consuming, the video content that we want. House of Cards, I'm not sure how popular that show was over here. It was a Netflix show. But they used data to figure out who was going to watch the series before they launched it, by running different types of trailers and testing them, getting all that data back, analyzing it, and then it helped them launch House of Cards, and it became a very, very popular show. A couple of the other things that are interesting, the amount of content now that's available is how do I get my content seen if I'm on the other side trying to produce the content? There's over 400 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute, so just massive, massive amounts of content being uploaded. And then with machine learning coming out, people are thinking, well, or machine learning a little bit, but also reality TV and the YouTube-type content or Facebook-type content that's all reality. I know a few years ago, everybody was thinking that TV shows that are scripted, that have actors and actresses, were kind of going to go away, and the world was just going to evolve into reality TV. What's happened is actually the complete opposite, where today there's over 455 scripted TV shows. That's over double what we had just 5 years ago. I was down in Los Angeles 2 weeks ago, and in Los Angeles, that's where a lot of they call them sound stages, where they actually shoot the TV shows and film them. And right now, every single sound stage is full. Both on the Universal lot, Disney, Fox, they're renting them out because there's so much new content being produced. And the reason is because you can get that to every one of your consumers without just having to go through one of the big channels to distribute your content. So it's exciting in my eyes. This is exciting because it means there's new content, better content, more targeted content, and it allows us to personalize the content that's being created and get that to the consumer. I'm not going to spend much time on this because I'm sure you've already attended some of the other seminars, but the investment in Google's cloud is amazing. For video customers, content distribution networks are critical. Being able to stream your video and have a quick user experience are absolutely imperative to getting good quality video. So today you can use Akamai, there's Limelight, Level 3, Fastly. There's quite a few content distribution networks available. And Google last year opened up the CDN that YouTube runs on. So the performance that you get on YouTube, the scalability of YouTube is now available. So for a video content publisher, you're going to have another option of a content distribution network. It's mainly been internally consumed by the YouTube team. So it might not have all the bells and whistles right now that you would expect if you're used to a commercially facing content distribution network, but it's definitely ramping up quickly. So if you're using a content distribution network today, you're looking at moving over to Google, you'll want to look at Google as a possible CDN provider for your video content. Obviously, I think everybody heard in the keynote, we have the applications that run over 1 billion users. So that brings us back to media and entertainment. Where's our focus? So in kind of step one, we have customers that just want to lift and shift their applications over to the cloud. Over there, you might be using just the compute environment. You might be using the storage environment, as well as the content distribution network. So this morning I met with a customer. They thought that they wanted to run on top of our video streaming platform, but it really turned out they had already built everything they needed, and they were just going to need to lift and shift it up over onto the infrastructure platform. So when you're working through media and entertainment challenges, you'll find that oftentimes you've already have what you've already built might move over onto the cloud pretty easily. and then just be able to take advantage of the different CDN options. So we can definitely help you move your applications over to the cloud. Then in the middle, basic over-the-top apps. So Google acquired a company called Bato, and I'll talk at a deeper level on Bato back in July. That can provide you an end-to-end over-the-top solution. So if you're looking at launching your own application and you need video content in there, we'll go over that. Re-engineering the workflow. So if you have a workflow where you might be able to scale it up quicker if you're running on the cloud, we have people that can help you, figure out how do I move it over to the cloud and then be able to scale it up. And then the third area that's obviously receiving a lot of attention is the machine learning, and how are we going to apply it into our video products, or how can you take that video intelligence API and apply it to your own content. So these are kind of the three areas that we're really focusing on from a Google perspective on the media and entertainment market. So Google's commitment to the media and entertainment market, I had been in the media and entertainment market for the last 10 years. Obviously, you know that Google's YouTube, and you kind of think of that, but they've acquired a product called Zinc in the rendering engine, and they also support many of the largest companies doing the big animated movies. And Bato is a over-the-top broadcasting solution, and I'm going quick on this because I have additional slides on them. Intelligence, we're just starting the intelligence phase. That's definitely, in my opinion, we're at the ground level, and customers like you are going to help define the best ways to use this technology. Monetization. So if you're playing back your videos and you can add the ads in there, obviously that's how you're going to start to make money. And then Google acquired a company called Widevine. Widevine is one of the DRM solutions. So there's about 3 different digital right management solutions out there. Google owns Widevine, YouTube, Chrome, obviously. So this is kind of our 360-degree view of media and entertainment. So really quick, for anybody that's into 3D rendering out there, we have an application. So if you're using Maya or Cinema 4D, Houdini, or Nuke, those are applications that look like this that allow you to create 3D models. We have created a plugin, and you can't really read this through the projector, but it's the coolest, quick way to use the cloud. So when you've finished your model, and you've done all your coloring and all your frames and all your rendering, there's a pull-down menu right here that tells you your options for cloud rendering. And it gives you how many compute cores are there, and then you literally just type in a number for the number of computers you want to have spun up in the cloud, and it'll tell you your costs right there. We took care of all the rendering costs on the back end, so you don't have to have special rendering engines. And when you hit go, it will package all your content up, send it up to the cloud, do your full render, and then bring it back down. So the Jungle Book was done by a company called MPC, and they used the Google Render Cloud. They did not use Zinc because they have their own big custom workflow for rendering, but the amount of compute to do some of these very, very high-end rendering projects is kind of mind-boggling. But 41 years of compute time they were able to do in just over 2 months. So what does this allow the artists and the animation team that's working on it? It gives them more time. It allows them to spend more time working on the fine details and just continually iterating on the product so that they can deliver a better product to us. So that's the power of the cloud around rendering. So anybody that's in the rendering portion of media and entertainment, definitely find your local Google salesperson. We have worked with all the major studios. We have what's called MPAA certification, so the major studios have approved the Google Cloud. So some really amazing stuff we're doing in the rendering area of it. So now I'll switch gears into Bato. Bato is the company Google acquired back in July. And it's designed to be sort of an end-to-end, over-the-top workflow to help you if you're putting video on your application. You know, like at the beginning of the show, if you're pulling up your sports application and you need to stream your video, or if you're developing to be able to stream to, say, over Chromecast or an Apple TV, and you need to be able to play your video content back on any of those formats, and Bato will be able to help you. Some of the customers, NBC is the largest broadcaster in North America, and that's one of our big customers. Univision's Latin America, one of their largest broadcasters. And Bato was North America only, so we're starting to work with European customers now that we have the support of Google and have been able to expand the team. So we can definitely support you. We can set up web meetings if you need to on Bato. So what does Bato do? Again, sort of the complete end-to-end workflow, and I'll dive into each little section of it. And we'll go through each one. So live streaming. So you always have to have some sort of a hardware to be able to capture the video signal, but it's a software-based encoding engine, and you can deploy it either on-premise where the cameras are and then move the data to the cloud, or you can just deploy it in the cloud. And you can capture either what's called baseband video, coming directly out of the camera, or you can bring in a previously encoded signal for a live transcode. So what does it look like? Over there is where you're capturing your content. You're bringing it in through the Bato, and it's just a commodity hardware device running our software. And then you can go straight to a content distribution network, so the CDN, and then you can stream out either in HLS format, and we're now releasing Dash. If you're familiar with Dash, it's another option for streaming video. And then the ads all tie into it, but I'll talk about that in a second. If you have a third-party encoder already, meaning you're encoding your video already, and you want to send it to the cloud so that we can transcode it into all the different flavors, and then deliver it out over your CDN, we can run in the cloud also. So you really have two options for the way you run the Bato software. So when that live signal, and when I'm talking live, I mean, we're watching a newscast or a sporting event. Bato actually broadcast the Super Bowl back in 2014, so millions and millions of people watching the same video. That's the power of Bato. But then live to VOD means, so that live signal's coming in, I'm going to capture it. And by capturing it, I can then use that to post it out onto social networks. I can push it to other online sites. So being able to capture it as it's being broadcast will save you a step. You don't have to wait until the broadcast is over and then have somebody transfer it to you. You can capture it right away. So then people say, well, as it's going along, I might need to cut out advertisements because sometimes you can't advertise what's going out over air on your phone or on your mobile devices. So you might need to change the advertisement. So there's a cloud editing tool that makes it really, really easy to cut ads out. And then you can also quickly grab little snippets of highlights, and you could use that to post it onto YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and start to send little bits of your video out to your social media quickly. So this is the architecture. It looks exactly the same as before. It's just now you're doing your capture and your editing in the cloud as you receive the content. And then you can also send content out to the premium syndicators. So over here, like Sky and all the big broadcasters here that need to receive your content. We have over 141 profiles set up worldwide to receive the content, because even North American broadcasters send the content worldwide. So those are already set up, they're automated, and makes it easy getting the content out. So video encoding. So once I have this video, and I need to get it into all the different formats, transcode it, we take care of all of that, whether you're doing the set-top delivery, or going to a Chromecast or going to your phone. We can take care of that. We can also work with video overlays, embedding the captions, putting in at the bottom there what are called SCUDdy markers. Those are the markers as the video content's going along that'll trigger ads to be played. So when it's creating the video so that it plays it out, we take into account kind of everything you need to do with that video and make sure it's ready to go so that you can send it out through your content distribution network. Syndication. So syndication, I already mentioned it just a second ago, but this is taking the content now that you have and sending it out to all the online players that need to receive your content so that then somebody that's subscribing maybe to a Hulu or even Netflix, right? That you need your movies up there, so you send it up to them, and then they'll be able to play it there. So we syndicate over 1.5 million minutes a month on behalf of the customers that use our content, and that's going to all the leading portals around the world. So we have an OTT store. This is not just, we're going to build a store where you can do quick subscriptions. It's more tying into applications where you need to authenticate against the cable subscription. So if you're a sports app and you need to make sure that somebody is paying for a cable subscription, like with the TV everywhere, this will help you tie your application together with a subscription service. And then dynamic ad insertion. So ad insertion at the server side is what Bato does. There's obviously client-side ad insertion, but to plug it into the server side, you can do it right within the Bato stack. So again, you can put ads on Apple TV, Chromecast, Roku, any VAST compliant third-party ad server. So the DoubleClick server, there's other servers out there like Freewheel. We can pull from any of those ad servers. And then generating the analytics is obviously key, getting the feedback for what ads are playing and the completion and the click-through rates. So the one thing with server-side ads I like to point out is it's a little smoother user experience because it's not getting there, having to go grab the ad, pull it back in. So when you're playing video, the server-side ad insertion, it's already baked into the video stream, and it'll just play right out. So then the player itself, Bato won't make a player, the actual skin. That's up to you and your developers to make it look and brand it however you want. But what Bato players, the back-end SDKs and the APIs that you're going to use, will allow you to have that player and be able to play it on any device. It does really fast startup, and it'll insert the ads we've talked about. It does both adaptive bitrate streaming, and it can do virtual reality, VR stream. So if you're going to develop your player, we give you all the back-end tools that you need to be able to pull the content, play the content. You just need to develop the application and use our APIs. And then there's a reporting dashboard. There's a few changes going on with the reporting. Now that we're part of Google, Google obviously is very concerned about what data is being collected. So Mbot is just lining up with the Google Analytics team and making sure the feedback that we get within the Bato platform matches up with the feedback that Google collects. So a great reporting engine as part of it. So a couple examples, right? So that's the stack, that's the wheel. But what are a few things you can do with it? So by being able to migrate off of a satellite truck, going up over satellite, hitting the data center, going to the service bureaus, and then back out, you can now go from the cloud. You have your encoder either on-site or in the cloud. You send the live stream there. You stream it out to all the devices. You can then syndicate it from the cloud. So all of a sudden, your costs of the truck and the satellite, you don't need that anymore. The real key, though, that I've found is making sure you have enough bandwidth, between the venue and getting to the cloud. And over the last 2 years, almost every venue has been putting in more and more bandwidth, which is going to allow this to occur kind of anywhere is what I'm seeing. So big cost savings if you're broadcasting content, looking to move it over into the cloud. And then a live linear channel. So if you're broadcasting all day, you need to have a schedule, right? And we create a schedule. So the schedule, because you're not, with digital rights, you're not always going to be able to broadcast on your phone or out over the top the same content that you're sending across onto the TV. So you can quickly replace content that you don't have the rights to, that you want to have the rights to, or with a different show that you have the rights to. So it's the quick, easy, adaptable, live linear streaming programming that is also part of Bato. And then this is where it's kind of exciting what's coming around machine learning, because now if I can personalize this with a pool of content, then everybody could start to get their own shows, and it's not just one show going out to everybody using the same application. So this is one of the areas that I think is going to benefit greatly from machine learning and being able to take all the feedback from people that are watching your channels and be able to provide different content to them. So shifting gears from Bato, virtual reality is an area that Google's invested in heavily. For anybody that was at NAB, which is the big trade show in Las Vegas back in April, Google will have a booth at IBC over in Amsterdam. I'm guessing a lot of people here go to IBC, so we'll be back at IBC. But this camera was at NAB. It's really cool. It's about that big. You take the picture, and then we don't build the camera, but what Google does is they built the software. It's called Jump, that allows you to upload, I think there's 34 cameras, and upload all the content, and then it does the stitching. So if you're in VR, you can do that. And then anybody that saw the release the other day, Google announced VR like 180 instead of VR 360, because 360, allows you to look all the way around. But if you look back there and you have a lot of cameras shooting the content, all of a sudden you see everybody making the movie or making the content. With 180, you can look around this way, but you're only seeing what the movie makers want you to see. So I think it's, Google, I haven't, this is just from what I read, but I think it's a way of trying to say, you know what, let's adopt a technology that is really cool in terms of being able to pan around in the video, but not allow you to go back and see, how it was being made. So VR 180 just was announced a couple days ago, and I'm sure cameras like this will figure out ways to, upload it to Jump and then just render the front half of it. Daydream, so the goggles so that you can look at the VR experience. These are the goggles that Google creates. And then kind of off of products, back to the core cloud that I think is probably the most interesting part. If you kind of have built already everything that I've showed you today, BigQuery, the cloud-based analytics. So as we start to run machine learning against the archives of all the video that we own, and we start to pull out metadata and more metadata and more metadata, if you can get it into BigQuery and then start to be able to run analytics on it, I think that's going to be where the power is, combining the machine learning with the analytics and being able to pull out, queries of, I need video with this actor or this actress in here over the last 5 years, and be able to quickly pull all that content out and create new content with it. So BigQuery is our enterprise warehouse for this large data. Spotify uses it. I think you've probably seen this in some other presentations. But the reason I like to point it out from a media and entertainment perspective is sometimes you're asking simple questions. One of the questions I read about online in terms of Spotify was, what are just the top 10 songs that played in Spain for October? And it was taking them 44 minutes to get the answer back on that. When they moved over into BigQuery, that time frame went down to a minute. So then you think about the business analyst trying to decide, what are we going to advertise in Spain? What are we going to do, for the next month? If they can ask more questions of the data and get the responses back quicker, obviously, it's really going to help. So BigQuery is that platform layer that I think is going to help media and entertainment customers, but it's part of the basic cloud, not not an add-on like Bato that was acquired. So what's the next wave? Machine learning. We've all been talking about machine learning. And so everybody, I think, has seen that there's the 5 APIs that are available today. So the speech ones, working on grabbing that text out for closed captioning, and then taking that closed captioning, turning that into metadata that you can search, and then also translating it into all the different languages is obviously a big focus. And then the Cloud Video Intelligence API is going to be used quite a bit. So what we did is we took the video supply chain here and came up with a few of the concepts that we're working on to plug into Bato. So today, the machine learning is not built into Bato yet, but this is what we're working on for future versions of the OTT. So a couple that I like to highlight, like in cloud editing, I hope machine learning doesn't replace all the jobs, and that it allows us to display more content. Kind of back to my first comments, which is there's more content available because there's more ways to consume it, and I can see exactly what I want. So I was down at NASCAR, the race, one of the race series in the US, but basically think about Formula One over here. If your favorite driver or favorite car doesn't come in the top 3 or so of that day, more than likely, if you log on that night and you didn't watch the race, there's almost no content available to watch, right? Because somebody took all the video that was shot that day and made a couple really cool highlights of the race. But that means, my favorite driver, I can't see any content about him. But every one of those cars has video cameras on it, right? One probably on the driver now, usually one facing forward, camera facing backwards. So it's not that we didn't capture the content, it's that we didn't have enough editors to go around to edit every single one. Where imagine if you could bring all that content in right at the end of a race, run it through a machine learning, kind of a cloud editing, intelligent clipping, so it was very quick, and for every single race car, you could produce a 5-minute clip of the races. Well, that's a lot, because as editing, you would have to spend a lot of time looking, but if you can train it on what's interesting, when it made passes, when it went into the pit stops, all the things that you might want to see about the race, imagine you could then have 40, let's say there's 40 cars in a race, 40 different clips. Maybe you could charge people a small subscription to go in and be able to view all the clips at the end of my favorite driver, right? So I could clip on it, watch the video, pay a little bit, or it's ad supported, maybe there's ads. And now instead of everybody just watching one highlight, everybody can go and pick and choose which highlight they want to watch because that's the driver they're interested in. And more than likely, they're also going to still go watch the highlights of the overall race because, of course, we want to see who can race. So these are the things in my mind that I get excited about because all of a sudden, there's more content available, easier to get to it, it's edited, it's gone through and created better highlights. So that's, in my mind, a kind of forward customer-facing implementation of machine learning. Under the encoding, if we can do a better job with encoding as the machine learns, so if I'm an announcer and I'm just standing here like I am here, encoding, you should be able to squeeze this video down pretty far because there's not much action. But as soon as action starts, slow down the encoding so you get a better quality signal. So I think on sporting events or events that switch from almost no action to a lot of action, if you can have machines watching that and being able to encode up and down on the fly, we're going to get better compression. And then there's a whole host of other ways we're looking at plugging in the machine learning. So again, the vision, cloud vision, you might have seen this. So on stills, face detection, pulling that out, the logo, identification, labels, landmark, OCR. And then this was on my highlights example. This is also, like Chopped is a movie, chef movie, or a TV show over in the US. But being able to take machine learning, feed it full of clips over the hour, put them in, and say, give me a 5-minute highlight for Chopped. There's some shows, Discovery, they shoot up in Alaska, the crab fishermen are out there. I think I've heard they shoot like 500 hours or 1,000 hours of content for every show because they have so many boats going out. And being able to run it through machine learning and be able to help create more personalized highlights is going to definitely be a use case for machine learning. And then the one that everybody's still trying to figure out and how to do a better job is contextual ads and microsegment, tagging those videos using machine learning. So, whatever's playing in the video, can you pull out related content out of the video specifically? And with these vision APIs, we're going to be able to do that. So the last one, the closed captioning I talked about a little bit. So being able to take the speech to text and then be able to turn that into metadata so that you can search the text and be able to find the content that you want. So machine learning, it's definitely in its infancy right now in this industry. Those APIs are available today. There's some good tutorials on it if you want to start to learn about them. And then if you're interested in like the Bato software or the Zinc software, definitely contact your local Google rep. They can get in touch with us. We can do meetings with you and help you out there. So with that, I've got a few minutes for questions. Thanks so much for your time. Any questions? Does anybody speak English? I hope you do. So I'll be back here if there aren't any questions, but thanks so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of Google Next. Thank you.